So yeah, as Andy said, this is a slight spin on the usual format for some of these presentations. My name is Karl Howard. I'm the Managing Director for iCare for Australasia Group. The big chap to my right is Jason Toko. He's a Senior Business Development Manager in Customer Care for the mining industry. We're very fortunate enough that we've got not just one but two guests dialing in, two of our customers from the Goldfields regions. We've got Kim Zanker, Electrical Supervisor from Regis Resources, and also Dimitrios Patsikatheodorou. I hope I pronounced that right, Dimi. I was practicing a lot last night. And Dimitrios is the Senior Process Manager at Aurine Mining. So I'd like to just kick it off with just confirming that the chaps that have dialed in online can actually hear us. So if you could just give us a all okay.
Yeah.
You just go outside.
You're right, Sandy. I think it's going to give them heart palpitations. So, Dimitrios, you can hear us okay, yes?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. And Kim? Sorry, just to the AV team, do we have Kim?
We don't have Kim.
Okay, not a problem. We can continue. So, Dimitrios, if you could just very briefly just give us a quick introduction of yourself, your role, and maybe because it is an industry agnostic event, just a couple of metrics around where you physically are and the throughput operations of everything at Aurine.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, thanks for having me. Apologies about the video. We've got some technical difficulties on our end with regards to video calling. But yeah, look, I'm the Senior Processing Manager here at Aurine Group Mining's Mount Ida Gold Project. We're located around about 80 kilometres west of Menzies in Western Australian Goldfields. And look, we're a relatively young operation. The plant was only commissioned in 2023, so I've been a couple of years sort of through commissioning and into full production. The nameplate design for the processing plant was around about 1.5 million tonnes per annum, and we're currently pushing upwards of that to 2.3 million tonnes at the moment, and looking at expanding that to the future to go to 2.8 million tonnes per annum. So we've come a long way in the last few years, and definitely pushing the plant harder than what it was originally designed for.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Dimmy. I mean, I put some questions together last night, ladies and gents, because, you know, in my role, I'm not as close to some of the accounts that some of our business development and customer care team are. So it's really great, first off, to hear the feedback around the expansion of such businesses like Aurine Mining. So probably just to kick it off for yourself, Dimitrios, is obviously working with iCare and being in that early adoption of digital technology. What was really the tipping point that kind of pushed you, in so many words, into this environment where you decided, look, you know, the culture of what you're currently doing needs to change, and obviously partnering with a company like ourselves?
Yeah, look, it's been a pretty easy decision for us. Obviously, we're still fairly new and in the early stages of production compared to a lot of sites who have been around for a longer time. So from our senior management executive team, we've sort of been looking at a lot of technology options that are out there to try and help with both the maintenance and production side of things. And that's where sort of iCare came into it. We didn't really have, or don't have a lot of data around, I guess, our breakdowns and maintenance scheduling at this stage. Obviously coming in from commissioning and pushing the plant well beyond its nameplate. So we've sort of adopted this technology now to set ourselves a bit of a baseline to see where we're at and how we're going to track going forward. because we are looking at expanding the plant with our future projects. So really for us, it's easy to adopt and implement it, considering at the early stage still of the project.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I mean, one really poignant point that you made there is around the data. We see a lot of concerns and maturity in that data space. So it is a key for success in the future, where we are developing predictive maintenance data with customers like yourself. With regards to the adoption, how do you think it's changing with regards to the culture of your workforce? A lot of people here at the conference have sat in on sessions around, AI and I say somewhat the fear mongering of taking jobs, whereas we see it as innovative technologies and using AI as a support function to your resources. If you could just touch on a little bit around what the workforce is like at Allreen with regards to the change and adopting technologies such as wireless sensors.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, from myself down and also the executive team up top, obviously there is so much data that you can extract out of from the mining sector and processing in particular. And we're looking at numbers all the time. And I think the hardest part has always been around we're collecting the information, but then who's looking at it? What are we doing with it? How are we then using that information to predict what's going to happen next? So, we're very heavy into, using the AI and the predictive modelling to be able to say, okay, rather than waiting for things to break down and fighting fires all the time, let's be a bit smarter about how we operate and collect that information. And this is where the iCare sensors was, I guess, going to be a game changer for us, is that it gives you that real-time information that we're sort of looking for. So, I mean, most places, and in my experience, has always been about having to do, quarterly vibration analysis and oil analysis, etc., offline. Whereas with the iCare system, you can see it all in real time. It'll flag on the system if something's going wrong, so be able to pick up things a lot quicker. And for us, the philosophy is always going to be about trying to maintain that uptime and reduce that amount of downtime. And I think a lot of people forget about that. The downtime is the real killer with production, especially with the gold price and where it's sitting at the moment. We want to try and maximise the amount of ounces that we actually put through the plant. So try and get that uptime up, then you'll make more ounces.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I mean, that's the real focus once the technology's been adopted, obviously for people learning about it here at the event and in conversations outside of these events. I'll quickly throw yourself a question, Jace, because you're at the coalface in the mining industry, whether it be in the goldfields, in the Pilbara and things. And obviously, Dimitrios has touched on the success once the projects are underway and proof of value, proof of concept's been achieved at any one of the customer sites. Jace, what are you seeing as the biggest challenge in adopting and partnering in the innovation space, particularly around predictive maintenance?
Cheers. Hello. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Probably one thing I see, I guess, is synonymous around the sites is we've always done it this way. So you attempt to use the same vendors, the same techniques and same disciplines the same way with the same people. And we've seen that quite a lot through all the different sites. Different maturity levels, some have clean asset lists, some don't. Some have quite a mature PDM team, some don't. But then also it comes back to how they use the data, as Dimitrios had alluded to as well, what we do with that data and how valuable and how can we put it into your CMMS system and workflows to make it, a complete loop. I've made a few notes as well. Because I mean, obviously we go into some of the sites and we just push the digital solution. You're only going to amplify the problems that they have. So we need to understand where the clients are at as well.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Dimitrios, back to yourself with regards to, you touched on the experience so far with us as a solutions provider. You also kind of highlighted a little bit of a roadmap on how you see that collaboration expanding in the future, because obviously we are, as I mentioned at the start, we are industry agnostic. We're not just supporting mining. Obviously for mining, it's high capital assets and high volume operations. With regards to the sensors being on your key critical assets at the site, and knowing that we can consolidate some of your predictive maintenance services, such as oil analysis and thermography, where do you see the relationship in the next sort of 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so I guess for us, it's obviously collecting all that information and obviously having it all together in, I guess, the one package is going to make life a lot easier too, because obviously using different vendors to collect different information, trying to package it all together is going to be difficult. So going to I guess, a one-stop shop to be able to collect all that information and analyse the data all together is going to be the big one for us too. So not only have you got the condition monitoring in real time, but obviously, yeah, the thermography and the oil analysis go hand in hand with that as well. So obviously, the more data we can collect and start building a bit of a baseline and some history around the equipment, we'll be able to tell very quickly if something's going to go wrong, and I guess plan for a shutdown rather than being reactive to a breakdown.
Yeah, no, agreed. For yourself, Jace, you've touched on some really big points around, you know, the variable differences in some of the customers that we see as a solutions provider. What have you seen with regards to roadblocks, shall I say? You mentioned, and there is the classic term, ladies and gents, regardless of industry, where people are kind of slow turning wheel. We've always done it this way. People notoriously don't like change. Change management is difficult. It's a service in itself for a lot of companies. But Jace, probably from a mining, and I know you've been in mining for a decade and a half and are doing fantastic work in the industry. What would you say at the moment is the key success for developing a rigorous roadmap on how you'd support any new customer that wants to get on an innovation journey?
It is different, the different sites. I do go back to the maturity of the staff and where they're at, but understanding the operation, where they're losing production, what failures that keep repeating. So there's a lot of sharing and obviously coming from a place of vulnerability, it's a lot harder. A lot of these sites, it's unfortunate Regis couldn't join us. A lot of those guys like Kim have been around for 25, 30 years. He's set up PM strategies and stuff that works, and they had a very good site. They had a very high rate of, less downtime. So they still adopted our system because they still wanted to be able to see things a lot earlier. But the main thing for us, because of the price of the gold, production costs are quite a lot. Understanding current capabilities on sites with Dimitrios as well. So what was can you do the full question again?
It was a lot. So just around how you develop, it's predominantly more around how do you develop a bespoke approach, because there are so many variables with different customers.
Yeah.
And how you take away that heavy lifting from the adoption of technology.
Yeah, and that's the part, we start where they are. So some of them are doing the manual PDM service internally themselves. So, and we can all sell. Like, we've all spoken to different vendors here today, and they're all coming up with the same problems and solutions. It's, God, how do I word it? I can only speak from what we've been doing, and what we're finding is that the current vendors, and it's nothing against what they're doing, they are also, I guess, doing things that the way they've always done it, and not adopting technology themselves to be actually put themselves in a better place. So we've found a transition of value has really been the biggest part, and how the customers are actually bringing us on board is taking something that's done in a periodic sense, similar to what Dimitrios said, doing it every 3 months, and then having more information every day.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers it. Makes sense in my head.
Yeah, that's fine. Dimitrios, I'm keen to understand, because, you know, as I mentioned, data is an asset in itself. Everybody knows that data is critical. Data is great if you're getting a lot of it into a platform, but it's what you do with that data, and that's really the highlight. We can provide insights, but we can't obviously make you do anything with your assets. We can develop a strategy, we can understand that strategy with you, but you have to carry out that strategy yourself. So the question probably for myself, Dimitrios, is we create the big data. How are you turning big data into even bigger insights and probably big savings, because that's predominantly what, these conversations are around. How do you facilitate innovation to support your bottom line in the industry?
Yeah, well, this is something that we've also been very deliberate about from the start. Because obviously, if you can't measure it, then you obviously can't track how things are going, and then obviously justify obviously repairs and shutdowns and where the money needs to be spent. So the metrics need to be very straightforward, but they're also very powerful. So your mean time between failure on critical assets will give you a baseline to start measuring those and what you can improve against. So if you typically compare what a planned replacement of a piece of equipment would be versus an emergency breakdown of the same asset, potentially could be a tenfold difference in costs once you factor in, having to expedite parts, contractor call-outs, production loss, etc. So obviously, if you can measure it and see how things are tracking early on, then you can plan for those shutdowns and, well, I said, be more proactive rather than reactive to a lot of this stuff. So the information is, going to be very powerful from what we can see, and building that original baseline for all the equipment. And then obviously, that day-to-day trending of the information and be able to say, okay, there sounds like there's a problem here, and potentially pick something up early on to then, keep the plant running. And like I said, keeping that uptime of the plant. Because, the gold price at the moment, trying to make as many ounces as we can. So it's all about those early wins from the very start.
Yeah, definitely. With regards to mining, and I mean, not everybody here in the room obviously works in mining, but it is a hard industry. You're flying people in, flying people out. Are you starting to see any value add in using technology, innovative technologies, and not just the eye care systems, but anything in that space around jumping in on these assets, carrying out remedial works ahead of time, but knowing that you've got the right people in the right place at the right time, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, look, definitely. I think we're using it a lot here on site. So not only for the eye care system, but with other systems that we've got. So definitely speeding up a lot of the analysing of the data and the reporting of the data, which is allowing us to make decisions much more quickly on the run, as opposed to having to sit down and say, put the data into Excel, run some charts, try and analyse the information. So, running it through the likes of, say, ChatGPT or Claude or any of those to very quickly come up with an answer for you, and then obviously just interrogating those responses. We're heavily using it and seeing a lot of benefit from it. So I think, 5 years from now, it's going to be a very different world, but it's all about the data and what we're actually doing with it. And then obviously having somebody to just interrogate that information as well that's coming in, just to confirm that it's sort of making sense.
Yeah.
Because it's all obviously about the data quality that you're also looking for. So the raw data is great, but you still need somebody to obviously interrogate it and make sure that it's telling what you want.
Yeah, appreciate that, mate. And I mean, I'm obviously always keen to hear the success and the outcomes of not just our products, but for other supporting products. But with every success, you have to overcome challenges, and mining is no different. So for yourself, Jace, what's some of the biggest challenges that you've seen in getting this product into sites? And it will be probably in twofold. You mentioned the adoption of people change management, but more so I know, especially where you've got mining companies that are in regional remote, telecommunications is notoriously probably one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. And I know that you and the team have spent a lot of time facilitating solutions in that space that fall outside of the remit, what would normally be for our standard solution to a customer.
So when you're saying challenges like technologically, like communication network, so we do see, like a lot of the sites in Goldfields don't have 4G. There's still 50% of the sites out there that have a limited network. So, of course we've had challenges with our installs and installing the sensors, but Starlink's been a good help for us. to adopt it so the clients aren't left stranded with any of the sensors not delivering the information and getting up to the cloud to provide the data for our remote team. Yeah, so there's been learning, getting our team out there into the dust and the heat as well. So had a few interesting projects over the summertime around 50 degrees, which is pretty normal for us. So yeah, no. Apart from that, there's no real challenges other than understanding the network that's remotely, the hardware and everything else. We've got the support remote as well as our PDM installs and technicians have been awesome.
Dimitrios, you mentioned then sort of future foresight. Obviously, you're on that journey of building up the data, turn that data into essentially the forensic footprint of everything that you do. And we're obviously here to support that. You mentioned 5 years ahead. 5 years ahead in eye care terms is like, yeah, we move very quickly. Where do you see you at Aureen with regards to in 5 years from now, not just in predictive maintenance, but the mining industry as a whole? You've obviously got a lot of experience in the industry, so we're keen to see at a site level what your viewpoint is, but also as an industry vertical, where you'll see mining in 5 years from now.
Yeah, look, I think you'll see a lot more adoption of the technologies that are out there for sure. Like I said, they're all very powerful, and it's about, it won't be, a differentiator won't be about who has the technology, it's about what you can actually do something useful with the information that comes from it. So, you can have all the technology in the world on it, but it's actually what you're doing with it. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. So again, like I've mentioned about the data quality and that interrogation, you can have all that raw data, but then it's the ability to convert it and have an insight into being able to action it quickly. And then, aligning the teams to be able to do that. So I think sites will get the most value from the AI and analytics. We're the ones where, leadership has created that environment for them as well, where they can sort of trust the data and act on it. And again, that takes time because obviously you need to, like I mentioned, interrogate it, make sure that it's giving you the right answers rather than just sort of defaulting to that the gut feel, and that's the way we've always sort of done it. So I think, there's going to be a real opportunity, especially for some of the smaller operations that have good data and good processes, to be able to outperform some of the larger ones because they haven't caught up in using the technology that's currently out there. So, that's what we're working towards. We're using the technology that's out there to try and help streamline a lot of the processes and obviously, eliminate a lot of the hazards, because that's one of the biggest risks on site is we've got a lot of safety risks and hazards on site. So anywhere that can also help out is a major benefit for us also.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I mean, I'll just to add to that, from my perspective, I'm seeing a very big shift. I work with a lot of senior management and executives, and even over the last 2 to 3 years, the average age of some of the individuals that I'm engaging with is actually quite scary, where I'm seeing a lot of executives that are a lot younger than me. But as a benefit, these are tech adopting individuals. So we do see, and it's not just mining, we see some resistance for technology adoption, where people are nearing the end of their career and their fear of the unknown or releasing the reins, so to speak. But we are seeing a very big digital shift in the workforce. So it's an interesting time with I think it was mentioned this morning that AI is not just creeping up on us, it's already ahead of us. And that workforce needs to be able to pivot to leverage that sort of technology. So no, I appreciate that. Just with that in mind, I'm happy to throw it out to the floor for some questions for either Jason, myself, or Dimitrios. I would just ask that you grab a microphone and a quick introduction, as Dimitrios can't see you. So are there any questions?
Is it? Oh, that's on. Yeah. This is Jesse Lord from Alcoa. Just a question on the generative AI side. How adaptable are your models to putting in process parameters, not just mechanical VA and other condition monitoring, to try and highlight possible process issues for root cause?
Yeah, it is a good question. So, as you say, and I think that was touched on in the presentation more around that agentive AI, we're using, in our model, we use artificial and augmented. So it's very much, there's still a strong lean point on human intervention as well. The reason we do that is because everything can be leveraged from AI to do the heavy algorithm sweeping, but we don't believe yet in industry that it's ready to be just not proof checked. The reason that we're seeing that this not supporting just customers here in mining, but we want to validate. We want people to still have an interaction with people. And I think, that was also a touch point in one of this morning's sessions around being able to have human intervention and creating reporting, and also introducing a communication stream. So our remote team can talk to you guys on the ground, because sometimes, that's something that's lacking from an agentive AI is tone, speech, manner, understanding pain points, frustration. Just written word doesn't say everything. So the customer care element of what we do is still very strong. To your point, yes, it absolutely will get there, but we don't want to run before we can walk. That foundation, like everything in technology, has to be laid first.
Any other questions?
There's no such thing as a silly question. Yeah.
Jesse again. So if we run quite an older plant here at Pinjarra, and a lot of new equipment we haven't that we want to install, haven't installed yet, and we haven't run before, so we don't have that history. You spoke about obviously that database of knowledge you guys have. Is there any limitations on that, or if we install a new piece of kit and we install some of your sensors, you guys are pretty good at running from the get-go on that background?
Yeah. It's a fantastic question. So yeah, look, when we look at data sets, a lot of companies are looking forward at building data sets. We're very fortunate enough that we are in a position where we've been collecting these data sets for over 2 decades, 22 years in collection. So when we're creating these really strong algorithms, it's not based on what we're seeing machine learning looking forward, it's what we already retain. So that is the biggest value differentiator of our business, is we hold all of these data sets already. And just for context, we're talking over 500,000 assets that we've gone around and taken in-person measurements from for over 20 years. We've retained all that data. That is extremely powerful, especially with developing them algorithms. So machine learning moving forward, yes, but also reflecting on what we've gathered already. So to your point around whether it's an older asset or it's a newly commissioned asset, absolutely it's the same for us, because we've had legacy equipment already in the business for decades, and then anything that's new is obviously new and supported. But we say the same with everything. Data is at the forefront of everything you do, and to get the best insights, you need the best data in to get the best data out. So it is a very rigorous process. The heavy lifting that we touched on earlier, we have customers of different maturities, as Jason mentioned, with regards to their CMMS programs, their asset criticality, and things like that. But equally, when we conduct an installation, we are there. We conduct it. We don't expect customers to do it on our behalf. It's our product and it's our quality control. So everything that we need, down to that asset level, schematics, information, we gather everything with you. If you don't have it, because it's an older asset, we can source it. And it may already be an asset that's in our portfolio already. Any other questions?
Further questions? How are we going for time? We've got about 2 minutes. Anyone got a 2-minute question? If not, we can break for lunch a bit earlier. What do you reckon? Right. Well, if there are no further questions, let's call the session to a halt. So thank you, Karl. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Dimitrios, for your contributions today.